Hello and welcome back to this next section. AWS offers a variety of managed caches and databases. To choose the best one for the job, you need to be aware of all the pros and cons. That's why in this section we will discuss what Relation and Database Service (RDS) can offer, how to use it, and what to look out for. We will then see how to use Elastic Cache to replace most popular caching engines, Memcache and Redis. With that out of the way, we'll compare using RDS and Elastic Cache with simply running the software on an EC2 instance. To sum up, we will take a deep dive into DynamoDB, an NoSQL database that's unique to AWS. In this video, we will take a look at Relational Database Service called RDS. We'll see what problems RDS solves, how to work with multi-availability zone deployments and replication in RDS, and we'll also check out what RDS events can be used for. So let's take a quick look at what RDS is. RDS allows you to launch a managed database instance. You can choose from a couple of popular engines like MySQL, MariaDB, Postgres, Oracle, and SQL Server. With some of the commercial databases, you can use the pay-as-you-go model for pricing, even for the licensing. For others, for example Oracle, you are required to bring your own license. You can see all the licensing options when you launch your database. To import your license into RDS, you can use the external licensing feature. As you probably know, with RDS you get a managed database. That means you don't have to worry about backups or system updates. All of that is managed from RDS. You can choose different backups and maintenance windows, that is, when you want the backups and maintenance to happen. For most databases, RDS offers point-in-time recovery. That means you can restore your database to a specific point in time. If you're using MySQL, remember that this option is not available for MyISAM tables. Even though RDS is a managed database, that means you don't have access to the underlying system. You cannot log in to the actual instance that runs it. You still have a lot of control over configuration of your database. You can use the parameter groups to modify the most popular configuration parameters for your database. Apart from managing the maintenance of your database, RDS also offers the option to manage the replication. You can easily create read replicas from your databases and see the replication status. One of the most powerful features of RDS is the option to run a multi-AZ database. You don't need to run replication to run multi-AZ. What multi-AZ gives you is it creates behind-the-scenes read replica of your database. If your database fails, RDS will automatically fail over to the read replica. This will happen invisibly for your application, and the DNS endpoint for your database will stay the same. This failover happens automatically, so your database will continue to work even if there are problems with the primary availability zone in which your database is running. If you're interested in multi-region deployments for RDS, it is possible to create a read replica in another region. RDS currently does not offer a master-master replication. If you want, you can enable encryption of your database. This is similar to EBS encryption, where your data is encrypted with a KMS key at rest. This option is not available for T2 type of instances, as they do not have the resources required to manage the encryption. One of the interesting features of RDS are events. If you go into the Events tab, you can see various events happening on your databases, things like the backups being created, database being restarted. You can see information about failovers and replication errors in here as well. You can subscribe to various events. For example, events coming from your instances. Whenever there's a failover or a configuration change, you can get a notification. An interesting thing is that the notification is sent to an SNS topic, which means you can chain it with any other AWS service that SNS can be used with. For example, if you would like to be able to restore your database in case of a region failure, but don't want to pay for a whole read replica in another region, what you can do is you can subscribe to a backup event, which will be triggered whenever an automated backup snapshot of your database is made. You can then chain it with AWS Lambda function, which will copy your snapshot to another region. That way, you will only pay for the snapshot storage in another region and not the whole read replica. And you will still have the option to restore your database in case of the region failure. One thing to note, with most of those events, notification will be sent whenever the event starts and finishes. That means, in case of backups, you will get a notification whenever the backup is started and when it is finished. So, if you're using the Lambda to copy the snapshot to another region, you will have to filter the event within your Lambda to only copy the backup once the backup has been finished. To optimize costs of running your RDS instance, you can, similarly to EC2 instance, purchase a reserved instance. Getting a reserved RDS instance is actually much simpler than getting a reserved EC2 instance. There is no marketplace for reserved RDS instances, which means you can only purchase the reservation from AWS. All you have to do is choose which type of database you want to purchase, select various settings, the term, whether you want to pay upfront or not, and choose the number of databases that you want to purchase. Reserved RDS instances work almost the same as reserved EC2 instances. If you're running the database of those specified parameters, that charge will be offset by your reserved purchase. It is usually a good idea to buy the reserved instance for RDS, as a database is something that tends to run continuously. There is also no option to stop and start an RDS instance, so you cannot optimize your costs that way. But because there is no marketplace for reserved RDS instances, you cannot sell your reservation if you need to scale your database up and no longer need the reservation. But if you're not likely to need to scale your database over the next year or 3, using reserved instances for RDS can be quite a cost optimization.